Body paragraphs make up the bulk of your argumentative essay, so we want them to be particularly strong. They are the meat and potatoes of your argument, so to speak, and your argument can really live or die based on how strong the body is. I like to compare an essay's body to an ape. Apes have incredibly powerful bodies, and we want our essay's body to be strong like an ape's. So a good way to do this is to always use what I call the APE method. The three main components of any decent body paragraph are assertions, proof, and explanations. You've probably heard these before under different names, whether it's claim, evidence, reasoning, topic sentence, evidence, supporting details, or whatever. It's all the same. I just like to call it this because I like monkeys and it's easier to remember. An assertion is simply a claim or declaration of what you think to be true. You've probably already come up with your three assertions if you've created a three-point thesis statement. These are nearly always the first sentence of your body paragraph, sometimes following a transition phrase, depending on what the paragraph is. So, anytime you want to argue or persuade someone that your point of view is correct, you have to give reasons for why they should change their mind. If you haven't yet come up with these reasons/assertions, then you can't go any further until that's finished.
You shall not pass! You shall not pass!
If you've been my student for any length of time, you probably already know that one of the best ways to make me pull out any remaining hair on my head is to make questionable claims without backing them up with reasons or facts. We all know that one person who says things without proof, and even worse, will often stick to their guns in the face of irrefutable evidence. Let's see how weak an argument is when someone states their position on something without offering any assertions to back it up. As you can see, it's just really not enough. It's not a very strong argument at all. So let's see what the same argument looks like, but this time with some assertions inserted in there. So this is certainly better than before, but a clever person will still see a weakness in this argument, and that weakness is a lack of evidence. Here's what can happen when you have assertions without evidence. The missing ingredient here is proof/evidence. Unless you're an authority on a subject, people will be skeptical about whether or not you know what you're talking about. So let's look at three types of proof. The first is logical facts. Sometimes you can simply state a fact or a series of facts that will appeal to your readers' sense of logic and will force them to arrive at the conclusion that you want them to arrive at. For example, if the Earth were flat, ships sailing away from us would get smaller and smaller, but we would still see the entire ship until it's too small to see. In reality, the ship disappears over the horizon, with the bottom disappearing first and the top of the mast disappearing last. The only logical explanation for this is that the Earth is round. One thing to remember here is that if your teacher requires you to provide sources, then facts like this that are obvious that may not be appropriate because readers don't need a credible expert to tell us how ships disappear over the horizon. We've all seen it with our own eyes. It just depends on what the main point of your assignment is. If you are just learning how to use sources and that's the main learning objective, then you'll want to stick to proof that lets you demonstrate to your teacher that you understand how to use sources, even if the fact is very strong. The next is statistics from credible sources. These figures and percentages taken from credible sources always lends credibility to your argument because it shows that there has been some serious study into the topic and that the results back up what you say. Saying most scientists agree that the Earth is round doesn't pack the same punch as saying 99.8% of scientists agree the Earth is round. And finally, we have quotes and citations from credible experts. When you can show that experts agree with you, it strengthens your argument. And something to remember is that these categories here are not either or, meaning that one piece of proof or evidence could fit into two or all three categories, like if you were quoting a fact from a credible expert. Okay, so we still have one more part to add to our body paragraph. We have our assertion, we have our proof. Unfortunately, that's still only two sentences. You have to explain more. You have to explain how your evidence proves your point. You have to clear up anything that could be confusing. You have to flesh out your ideas more. So, for example, look here at the bottom. If you were explaining to a little kid the pilot flying to the east and returning from the west idea, that's still not enough. Little kids, and sadly some adults, will not understand that the only way someone could fly in a straight line to the east and return from the west is if we lived on a sphere. And that about sums everything up. Just remember, write your body paragraph the APE way. Come up with your assertion, find strong proof, and then explain it.
Don't drop that dirk dirk. Hey, don't drop that dirk dirk.